Good morning, boys and girls. Today we will reread the story Mouse's Birthday, written by Jane Yolen and illustrated by Bruce Deegan. Now, today, let's remember to ask questions as we read this story because every good reader does this to find out more information about their story. They can find answers in the pictures and in the words. And another thing is we will pay very, very close attention to the details. So we will pay very close attention to what happens in the story. Even if it doesn't seem like a big thing, we will still pay attention. Okay, so let's begin. Mouse's house is very small. Now, I've got a question about this house though. Look closely at Mouse's house. Where is it? It's in the barn, isn't it? How can you tell? Well, there's hay. It's built out of hay. And you can tell by the walls here. This looks like a barn wall, doesn't it? So this will help us to understand the story a little better. Very small, very small. Hardly any room at all for anyone but Mouse. So notice I read this line first, hardly any room at all, and then I go to the bottom, but I go to the left. Again, I read from left to right, for anyone but Mouse. I'm going to read this one sentence just one more time so you can watch. Hardly any room at all for anyone but Mouse. Did you see that? In comes Cat upon his knees, carrying a gift of cheese, trying very hard to squeeze into Mouse's house. In comes Dog upon his knees, carrying a pot of teas, trying very hard to squeeze into Mouse's house. In comes Cow upon her knees, carrying a bowl of peas, trying very hard to squeeze into Mouse's house. Now, why did Cat, Cow, and Dog come into Mouse's house on their knees? Because the house is too small and these animals are too big to fit inside of Mouse's house if they were standing. All right. Okay. In comes Horse upon his knees, carrying a pair of skis, trying very hard to squeeze into Mouse's house. So do you think Horse could really fit into a Mouse's house? I don't think so. Not in real life a horse couldn't fit. What does that tell you about this story? Is it a real life story or is it make-believe or fantasy? It's a fantasy story because it couldn't really happen. Okay. In comes Farmer on his knees, carrying a brown valise, trying very hard to squeeze into Mouse's house. So look at the size of Mouse's presents. Do they seem to be the right size for him? The skis look like they're the right size. And he certainly could eat those peas and he could drink the tea. I I don't think he could pour the tea, though. He'd have a lot of cheese for a long time. So some of these gifts, I think, are the right size for him. But the thing I don't think is the right size for him is the tea. I think he could have maybe some friends over to share that cheese and those peas, because that is a lot of food. Okay, so let's think about Mouse's house. What is the size of Mouse's house? It's pretty small, isn't it? The words and the pictures help me to understand that Mouse's house is small. You can tell from this picture here that it's small. And the words say Mouse's house is very small. And then later in the story, you see Mouse's friends try to crawl into Mouse's very small house. They have a hard time fitting in the house. Okay. In comes Farmer on his knees, carrying a brown valise, trying very hard to squeeze into Mouse's house. They all fit, candles lit. Happy birthday, Mouse! So these capital letters here show that it's a very important thing that they're saying, and that the author wants to emphasize it, to make sure you know that it's more important than the other words on the page. Candle glows, Mouse blows, house goes whoosh. So what happened? What happened in these pictures? Mouse blows, and because he blows his whole house away. But in the pictures, you see that not only Mouse blows, but so do his friends. So because of all that wind, they blew the house down. Okay, so as I read pages 20 and 21, I ask myself, where will the animals end up? Here. I notice on pages 22 and 23 that they are sitting on the floor of the barn. This answered my question from the last page. Where will they end up? As I turned the page, the author answered my question by painting a picture of where they would be. They're on the floor of the barn. Mouse's new house is very wide. Very wide, very wide. Everyone can fit inside, including little Mouse. Now from this page, I can tell that he is very happy with his new home. Now that is one of the details that we look for. It's a little thing, but I can tell he's happy. He likes his new home. So now, let's ask some questions about our story. Who came to Mouse's birthday party? Cat, dog, cow, horse, and farmer. What presents did they bring? They brought cheese, teas, peas, a valise, and skis. What happened when Mouse blew out the candle? The house went whoosh! It blew away. Do you think the mouse will like his new house? I do. Why do you think he'll like his new house? I think the mouse will like his new house because there's more room for all of his friends to fit. Do you think, is there anything you wondered about in the beginning of the story? For me, I wondered if the animals would all fit. And at the end of the story, they all did. Especially when Mouse's house got bigger. Okay, very good. Thank you for listening very attentively, and I will see you later.